Take the bass line out. Here go. Let it bump.
What is up, Kryptonian? Superfan K here. You know what time it is. It is a superhero review. As a result, the Superman cape is back. And I'm here to review X-Men Apocalypse. X-Men Apocalypse. It is the 9th X-Men movie in this franchise. It is the follow-up sequel to X-Men Days of Future Past. Brings back a lot of the old cast. James McAvoy as Professor Xavier, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss Everdeen. Oh wait, wrong movie. My bad, just kidding. Jennifer Lawrence is back as, you know, sort of a version of Mystique. Nicholas Hoult is back as Beast. Oscar Isaac, newcomer, coming in to play the title villain, Apocalypse. You got a whole bunch of newcomers like Ty Sheridan as Cyclops, Sophia Turner as Jean Grey. And basically what this movie is, it takes place 10 years after the events of Days of Future Past. The characters are all in a different place. And Apocalypse is this mutant, this really, really old mutant who's been around for a long time, but he's also been, you know, nighty-night for a long time. He wakes up, he looks at the world, he's kind of like, man, you guys got the Kardashians running everything. I mean, Flavor Flav exists, Donald Trump is running for president. Yeah, no, all of this needs to go. This is bullshit. He looks around, basically, he looks at the world, he looks fucked up. So he decides, I'm going to wipe everything out. And it's up to Professor Xavier. He needs to team up with the rest of the X-Men to try and stop this guy. And Apocalypse, to accomplish his goal, is going to recruit 4 horsemen: Psylocke, Angel, Magneto, and Storm. And there we have our movie. Let's get into the good, the bad, the supers, and the Luthors of X-Men Apocalypse. First off, I gotta give a shout out to all of the old cast in this movie. They all really, really bring their A game. James McAvoy, he's been great as Professor Xavier. He was great again as Professor X in this movie. But the standout of all the old performances, Nicholas Hoult, everybody, is Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender as Magneto. He kills it as Magneto. He's the guy you care about the most in this movie. He's the guy I cared about. His plight, like there's something that happens to him that I will not spoil in this movie. Something really big and tragic happens to him in this movie. And from that point on, you totally get and understand why he's doing what he's doing, why he decides to side with Apocalypse. And he's the character I felt the most for. Not to mention his interplay with Professor Xavier. I mean, did you ever really need 2 perfect embodiments of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X? These guys are it, okay? Their interplay, their back and forth, it's what was great about some of the other X-Men movies. It's great again in this movie. So shout out to most of the old cast for carrying the job and doing a really, really, really awesome job with it. Action in this movie is blah. It's really, really good. Probably some of the best action we've seen in any X-Men movie. Bryan Singer and whoever shot the action in this movie, they really upped the ante. They upped the stakes. They upped everything pretty much. This is some of the best action that you've ever seen in any comic book movie. The finale, it's bold, it's ambitious, it's daring. I mean, I didn't really expect them to go the way they went with the action. I mean, everything from destruction to choreography to everything, like the CGI, the action in this movie is just some of the best action you've seen in any X-Men movie overall. And they all deserve insane props for that, because I was on the edge of my seat for most of it. Let's talk about some of the new characters. The new characters I liked the most were Jean Grey and Scott Summers, Cyclops. They're played by Ty Sheridan and Sophia Turner. Now, Sophia Turner as Jean Grey, I'm going to be honest with you guys, never been a huge Jean Grey fan. I've always kind of looked at her as, you know, she's a timid, she's nice, you know, she's kind of like Xavier, except not. But then when she gets pushed past her limit, she turns into Dark Hulk pretty much. But she was awesome in this movie. She kicks ass. They do a great job of demonstrating her and her power, and she plays a huge role, obviously. And I really like the what the actress brought to the role. Like, she really made me care about a little bit more about Jean than I thought I would. So she killed it. I'm excited to see her going forward. And Ty Sheridan as Cyclops, he was good too. I thought they kind of hinted at some really, really good things with those two characters. And I thought that was awesome to see going forward. And I'm really interested to see in future X-Men movies what they do with Cyclops and Jean Grey, and that is because of how they were portrayed in this movie. Not to mention, guys, fan service. For any X-Men fans out there, there are a lot of great fan service moments in this movie. Moments where you're going to be like, oh, wow, that was awesome. Oh, wow, I know what that is. Or, like, it does a great job of hearkening back to the older X-Men movies, and, like, it has references and Easter eggs for them. Like, you'll see certain scenes and you'll go, oh, I know what that is. I know who that is. I know what that is. There is one fan service scene in this movie. It's an action sequence. I'm not going to spoil it in case you didn't see it, but if you saw that third trailer, I think you know who I'm talking about. And I squealed like a little girl when that part happens. I'm going to be completely honest.
It's like...
I enjoyed the hell out of that, and I think anybody who's an X-Men fan is going to enjoy the hell out of that. Seriously, that moment just... Man up, Hannibal, you're wearing a Superman cape. And yeah, that happened actually. I really did squeal like a little girl.
Bitch.
But in terms of things I didn't like about the movie, there's a reason why I like this movie, but I didn't love it. Let's start with Apocalypse. Apocalypse himself, played by Oscar Isaac, there's nothing terribly wrong with Oscar Isaac's performance per se. He gives a solid performance. There are a couple times where it seems like he's overacting. He really does pull off this old Egyptian grandma type voice for most of the movie, where he's just kind of like, I am Apocalypse, and I have to talk like this, and you will fear me. You will understand me. Superpower, blah. Power, blah. World, blah. I am Apocalypse. Follow me, children. You are all my children. He might as well be walking around the whole movie with like a Nicki Minaj sign out that says, all these bitches is my sons. Like, that's pretty much what he is. He plays the Egyptian grandma for most of the movie, which is fine. I like some of the stuff they did with his voice, but in general, I was disappointed by Apocalypse, honestly. He let me down. He wasn't as awesome as I thought he would be. He wasn't as intimidating. He wasn't as menacing. He's kind of a little bit of a midget, to be honest. Oscar Isaac's not that tall. He didn't really tower over the rest of his henchmen. He has moments where he uses badass powers, but then doesn't use them later when you would think he would try to use more of those badass powers. And I don't know, I just didn't really buy into him. I didn't really like him in terms of how intimidating he should be if your name is Apocalypse and if you're playing that villain, because we all know how OP Apocalypse is. I didn't really care much for him. I was a little disappointed, I'll be honest. Mystique. Look, Jennifer Lawrence, she's a great actress. I got nothing against her. She gave, in my opinion, she gave maybe the worst performance in the movie. She felt like she was phoning it in. She felt like she didn't want to be there. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. She just kind of felt like she was going through the motions. And the movie tries really hard to make Mystique, like, you know, the leader of the X-Men, the face of the team. And I just never really bought it. I never really bought in. I never bought that all these students and all these people would look up to her like she's some kind of hero. And for most of the movie, she pretty much plays discount comic book version of Katniss Everdeen. Like, she makes this speech at the end to the X-Men, and when she said it, all I heard her say was, "Welcome to the 79th Annual Hunger Games. I am your host, Katniss Everdeen." But the biggest issue I have with this movie is the characters. Like, all these new characters get brought into this X-Men world, and you're supposed to be interested in them. Like, you feel like the spotlight should have been on them more, but it's not, honestly. It feels like a waste, and like, most of these characters have nothing to do. Storm is completely wasted. Psylocke is completely wasted. Angel has nothing to do. Nightcrawler, I feel, was there for comic relief and didn't really offer anything else, even though it was awesome to see Nightcrawler back again. Sophia Turner and Ty Sheridan as Cyclops, they were pretty good, but even they felt like they weren't really, you know, like they didn't really get utilized to their full potential. I think the movie should have focused a little bit more on these characters, because it just comes off as everybody just gets wasted and no real character development for any of them. But the first 45 minutes of the movie is kind of hard to get through. It's kind of hard to get through. It's a little bit choppy and slow in terms of pacing. Like, it feels like a setup movie. It feels like they're just setting things up, trying to build towards the movie that you really paid your money to go see. There's a few scenes that drag, and there's really not a whole... There's a lot going on, but it just took a while for me to get into the movie. Once the story started really kicking into gear, I was invested, I was engaged, I was entertained. But overall, those first 40 minutes, I can't deny, were a little bit slow for me. Overall, though, guys, I really enjoyed this movie. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it. It had a lot of issues, but I think the critics are way off with this one. I think it's a really good movie. I'm going to give it the rating of Man of Steel. So that's my review of X-Men Apocalypse. A little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, guys, but I will have a spoiler review up sometime next week. Guys, let me know what you thought. Comment, like, share. Was this your favorite X-Men movie? What is your favorite X-Men movie? Do you have a favorite X-Men character? Let Superfan K know. All right, let's talk about this. Let's go back and forth. All right? If you like what you see, tell me how you feel. Stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.